All right, we are live. Welcome to the Daily Grind Golf Podcast, episode number 1. The focus of this podcast is going to be LIV Golf. I don't know of any podcasts that focus just solely on LIV Golf. Yesterday was a day for me where I've just been kind of fed up with PGA, NBC. It's not on, stuff isn't on TV, constantly talking about LIV, but not on board with LIV, just all sorts of shenanigans going on the other side. Today I flipped the phone onto YouTube and I saw that LIV Mayakoba was free and on YouTube, and within the first few minutes I'm watching Ram and DJ and Bryson and Brooks and Phil and Sergio and all these guys play some great golf on a great golf course, and I was like, holy cow, maybe this is finally turning into something. And I think it has been behind the scenes if you're a PGA fan. But for me yesterday, it kind of just clicked, and it was like, this is pretty cool. But yeah, just a little background. I'm a PGA fan. I love the PGA Tour. I haven't ever really been on board with LIV. I've been following it. I've been watching it, looking a little bit here and there. But in no way, shape, or form would I say I was a LIV fan. But like I said yesterday, it all just kind of clicked. And when I was watching LIV Mayakoba on YouTube for 4 hours or 5 hours with no commercials and lots of good content in between, kind of where the commercials would be, talking to the players, seeing some behind the scenes stuff, like really good content and a good production, and it was just really, really cool to see. And then I start looking around, how can I see a breakdown of LIV Mayakoba round 1? And it's nowhere. It's not to be seen. So I thought, hey, maybe I'll just give this a try. A couple admissions right away. It's my first podcast ever. I have my daughter behind the scenes running the camera, smiling at me, trying not to laugh with her. Need to work on a couple things. I have the cameras. I don't quite have the audio that I'd like, so I need to work on the audio. I don't have the options to share screens and stuff right now, so I gotta do some of that stuff. But a couple weeks, if this gains any traction, let's say even 1 or 2 followers, maybe I'll get a couple extra cords and try to figure out how to share screens and actually make this a little bit more of a true podcast. It's going to be focused mostly just on YouTube right now for the videos, and then we'll see about trying to get it on some other platform, but it's in the future. Anyways, I think one good place to start would just be how to watch LIV Golf. So I'm here on the LIV Golf website, and I've watched LIV a little bit on YouTube in the past, not much, but just a little bit. So I knew that was an option, but I feel like last year it was maybe YouTube Plus or YouTube Premium, whatever that might be, and I don't think you could just watch all the rounds on YouTube. That might be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. But this year so far, it's definitely YouTube. Go to YouTube, go to LIV Golf, and you're going to get live broadcasts of all the events as far as I'm aware, and it is quite nice. You can watch it on your phone, you can watch it on your computer, you can watch it on your smart TV. Just go to the YouTube app. So that's great. You can watch it on the CW. A lot of people just, I'm not going to watch golf on CW. I don't know where CW is, all these excuses, and that's totally understandable. For me, CW is also free, obviously. It's just network TV. And it's, instead of 15.1 for me, which is NBC, it's 15.2. So when PGA is on NBC, I just click one up and I got LIV Golf on CW, which works really nice because NBC now is trying to push things all onto Peacock in terms of PGA, which is just terrible in my mind. We don't need to get into that. But when the PGA switches over to Peacock, I just hit the One Up channel and I'm watching LIV Golf, wherever LIV is playing, and it's nice. So that's that. And then, one kind of newsworthy thing, it sounds like they're teaming up with Google sometime. That's one thing I did not pull up. I don't think I really need to right now. We can talk about that more in the future, but they teamed up with Google. Sounds like it's going to be a pretty big deal, and you are going to be able to watch any player anytime during the round at any point in time. It's going to be very user-friendly, interactive platform to watch LIV Golf. I hope it's a free platform. You would think Google and LIV would find some way to make money off that other than making the fans pay for it, with little banners or sponsor ads or whatever during it, something like that. I'm not sure, but that's coming up in the near future. Should be pretty cool. Another really nice way to watch LIV Golf. But I think let's just skip past all that stuff. I think we talked about enough there, and let's just get into LIV Golf, Mayakoba, round 1, first 18 holes of the season for LIV. In the first round of LIV Golf for quite a few people. But we're just gonna kind of do a rundown of the leaderboard, and we are gonna start with Joaquin Niemann. Interesting thing about Joaquin Niemann is I always thought it was Joaquin Niemann, but they keep saying Waco Niemann, so I'll go with that. The guy shot a 59 on his first round of LIV Golf this year. It was absolutely fantastic. The guy was a stone cold killer out there, super focused, had an eagle on 11, knocked that one in from I don't know where. He was not close, 100 some yards, slam dunk, just like fantastic shot. I guess I shouldn't say slam dunk because it hit the green and rolled in, but just wonderful. Hardly cracked a smile when that went in. He did smile, but it wasn't much. Just right back to business. He had 4 holes left to play, and he was on 57 watch. He was 11 under with 4 left to play. He needed to birdie. I don't exactly remember. I think he started on 2. He needed to birdie 1 of his last 4 holes in order to shoot a 59. So this guy was a true 57 watch for a while. That quickly turned into a 58 watch after a par. Then he birdied again, still on 17, birdied again, still a 58 watch. And then parred 18, still a 58 watch because he needed to come back and play hole 1, and then parred that for a 59. Absolutely fantastic golf. You know, in his post-round interview, just saying like he really didn't know what was going on until he was walking up 18. He obviously knew he was playing very good golf. Walking up 18, sounds like a lot of fans were screaming, go for 58, go for 58, and he kind of started putting pieces together pretty quick. Anyway, shot a 59, and just wonderful. Just great golf. Next up, Patrick Reed. You know, I didn't see much of Patrick Reed in the broadcast on YouTube, but just a great round. Just a lot of birdies. 7 under. Looks like he started on, he actually started on 17. So I'm guessing the reason we didn't see much of Patrick Reed is because he birdied 4 of his last 4 holes, which was 12 through 16. Up until that point, he was just 3 under. You know, not totally up near the top of the leaderboard. Ended up birdieing his last 4 holes to end up solo second at 7 under. Sergio Garcia, this was when I first turned on the broadcast and I saw Sergio Garcia. This was kind of like a point for me to be like, man, I haven't watched this guy play golf or heard much about him really in 3 years. And it was just like, man, this is going to be nice to watch Sergio play some golf. And he played some really good golf, 6 under, but did have a couple bogeys on, let's see here, 12 and 16. And, you know, and then just finishes round with 4 pars, and that's fine. 6 under, solo third. And it was just really nice to see Sergio playing some golf again. Next up, Jon Rahm. His LIV Golf debut starts with a birdie, of course. Plays great, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 birdies in his first 7 holes 2 more birdies, 13 and 15, and then unfortunately ends his round with 2 bogeys on 17 and 18. Ends up 5 under. You know, some really, really good golf from Jon Rahm. Seemed very serious out there. Kind of just regular, really good Jon Rahm stuff. And then 2 unfortunate bogeys at the end. It'll be very fun and interesting to watch him play the rest of the week here. And then I got to be honest, you know, I haven't watched much LIV Golf, so I have not been totally aware of a lot of these guys. Cantor, Richard Bland, you know, 5 under. They're doing great. Lots of birdies, a couple bogeys for those guys. But all in all, they're obviously right up there. T4 with Jon Rahm at 5 under. I just don't have a whole lot to say about those guys. I didn't see them playing much today, and I don't know a ton about them, but I'm sure it won't be too hard to figure something out in the near future here. Then we got Dustin Johnson. First time I saw Dustin today, man, he looks way better. I did not know that he had a back injury last year. Sounds like he did. Seemed like maybe he was a little out of shape, not playing great golf. You know, I was wondering if he maybe just went to LIV and sat back and relaxed and didn't play as much golf and wasn't taking as good care of himself. But it sounds like it was a back injury. Maybe wasn't exactly where he wanted to be, but man, he looks good. He's playing some good golf. Similar to Jon Rahm, he played really good golf. He had 6 birdies and 2 bogeys. Just a couple unfortunate holes, but he's 4 under. 7th place, tied with Burmeister. And then, you know, we kind of get into some of these other guys. We got Sebastian Munoz, Charles Howell III, Mark Leishman, 3 under, all T9. Obviously, once we start getting down this leaderboard a little more green squares, a few less red circles. Looks like Charles Howell III did eagled. The 4th hole. I did not see that. But definitely has an eagle on the board there. And then 4 birdies and 3 bogeys, unfortunately. But working our way down the list, I did see Brooks play a little bit today. He's 2 under, tied for 12th. Looks like he also had kind of an unfortunate end of his round. 16 and 17 were bogeys for him. He had to keep playing then 18 and birdied his final hole of the day, which was 1. Cam Smith seemed like he was still struggling off the tee a little bit. His driver is just kind of, you know, he ended a lot of shots, second shots out of the rough. Probably not exactly where he wanted to be. He was playing with Jon Rahm. It was cool to see these guys play together. 2 awesome players kind of doing their thing. Cam Smith, you know, got these crazy like 80-year-old man glasses on. Sounds like he's got something called surfer eye, which I'm not familiar with. But clearly very wealthy guy that hangs out in the sunshine a lot and probably does a ton of fishing. And I'm guessing that reflection off of the water is just not good for the eyeballs. So he has to wear these kind of glasses that fully protect all sides of the eyes to prevent any more damage from the sun. I'm not sure if that's temporary, permanent, hopefully just a temporary thing for him and he can get that kind of back under control. But Cam Smith, Brooks Koepka, and then also Bubba Watson, T12 at 2 under. And like I said, eventually if I can share the screen, it'd be a little nicer and we'll hopefully have that sometime soon. Bubba Watson, 2 under. He's got a very unfortunate 7 on the scorecard, which is never going to help. And then we get down to one of the Vincent brothers, which is Scott. And I guess I'm bringing up Scott so that we can talk about his brother Kieran. But Scott also T12, 2 under. Also had another eagle. Looks like the majority, or I'm seeing a lot of eagles on the par 5 5th. You know, really, you know, the unfortunate thing about LIV at this point in time is that we don't have a good option for seeing stats, and that's huge, and that's a lot of the problem that these PGA Tour kind of podcasters and fans have is like, what does any of this mean? What are we looking at with all of these numbers? And I think at this point in time, I do agree with them in a way that like we don't have a great comparison. Eventually it's going to be there. Eventually they're going to figure it out with one of these data companies. We're going to get this all figured out, and we're going to have strokes gained, and we're going to be able to put the pieces together. But on a little side note, I mean, the PGA has played at some of these courses. People will argue that is it set up the same? Is it not? But I think we have to, in some of these situations, say, hey, the best we can do to compare these two is look at course history. It looks like the PGA course record for this particular golf course in Mayakoba is from Russell Henley. It looks like in 2022, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff, but he shot 261, which I believe is 23 under. Anyways, I don't need to do the math, but I think 23 under. So we'll see what some of these guys finish at. And I think for now, that's kind of our comparisons. When they're playing the same courses, we can look at PGA history, course history, look at the LIV course history, and kind of figure out what is going on, at least on the courses with the different tours, and have some little bit of a comparison. I guess one person that I did skip over is Luis Oosthuizen. I'm saying that wrong. I know how to say it, but I'm not saying it right now. 1 under, T18, not a great round, had a double bogey, bunch of pars, quite a few birdies, and then 2 bogeys. But I believe he's won twice on the DP World Tour this season already. So just another good idea as to like how these guys are comparing, trying to use anything that you really can to compare and get an idea of how they're playing in comparison to the DP World Tour, in comparison to the PGA Tour. We don't have strokes gained, but we do have guys overlapping on tours, and we do have guys playing same courses. So I think that's going to be a little bit of our comparison focus until we get more information. But the Vincent brothers. So Scott Vincent, T12, 2 under, nothing too crazy. And then his brother, Kieran Vincent, first round as a LIV golfer, 1 over, tied for 32nd. So not a great first round, but that'll be interesting to see how some of these guys do that played onto the LIV Tour through the promotions event, which one of those guys is Kieran Vincent. So far, not great, but that's just 1 round. Then we got Bryson. He's 1 under, tied for 18th. Nothing really too much to say about Bryson. I think his putter is just as good as it was last year, but some of those rounds last year, I mean, he was making everything. If it was a 40-footer, if it was a 70-footer, if it was an 8-footer. And today he just had some long putts that were really close that just kind of sniffed the hole and just didn't happen to go in. But some other notables, Kevin Na, 1 under, also T18 right there with Bryson. And then we got Swafford, is also T18, 1 under. Now he is a wild card guy who has a permanent wild card position for the season. So we'll see how that goes. And then while we're talking about the wild cards, I guess I don't know who the other one was for this week, but in other kind of LIV news, and I'll just mention it now, Anthony Kim, who hasn't played golf since 2012, at least professionally, out with an injury, collecting on some sort of insurance policy, coming back to professional golf, and he will be on the LIV Tour. He is going to have another one of these wild card positions, and that is going to start in March when LIV Tour heads to Jeddah. What else? Caleb Surratt, even par, tied for 26. It's nice to see Caleb Surratt, just because I was kind of curious to see, like, if they started pulling guys from college, how that would work. I thought it would be interesting. It's much more similar to other professional sports where you can get kids out of college and they don't have to go play on the Corn Ferry Tour. They don't have to go play the Asian Tour. They don't have to play their way in. They've already played their way in by playing really good in college. Caleb Surratt's a perfect example of that. The closest other comparison that we have is Nick Dunlap, and it's similar, and it's so incredibly different. Nick Dunlap did something that nobody's done in 33 years to get onto the PGA Tour, and he made the decision to go pro, and that is incredible, and I'm really looking forward to watching that. Caleb Surratt has done something similar where he's playing professional golf straight out of college, but in a completely different way. He got a wonderful contract from LIV Golf that I'm sure he could not have turned down. No idea what that is. I wish we knew more about these contracts, because it doesn't matter. I feel like if we know or if we don't know, like who is that hurting if we know? But anyways, Caleb Surratt, straight out of college, even par after his first round. Seems like an okay start. Tied for 26th. And then another thing I want to mention, Stenson. He's even par. Tied for 26th. But the reason that I bring up Stenson is because I'm also going to bring up Sam Horsfield. And I'm also going to bring up Ian Poulter. And I'm also going to bring up Lee Westwood. This is also kind of getting off on a little tangent, but these guys, Majestic, the team Majestic, they on YouTube have this, what is it called? It is called Camp Confidential. It's 3 episodes on YouTube. Probably worth at least watching the first one, see if you like it, and maybe catch the second one. I've seen the first one. Second one I didn't think was as good. It's not quite as focused on LIV and on the golf, and more kind of on their hangout situation, but it's pretty cool. It kind of lets you in on the franchise a little bit, how they're doing. It gets the owners of the franchise involved. It talks about that, hey, like, you guys are not playing good golf, at least Ian Poulter and Lee Westwood, and you need to be playing better golf or you're going to be without a job, I think, after the 2025 season. Or it might be after the 2024 season. I'm fairly certain they were last place in the teams event, in the teams runnings last year. And they were just Ian Poulter and Westwood were just way down at the bottom of the list in terms of individual play. And they are starting out the season just right in the same spot. Ian Poulter is +3, Lee Westwood is +4. And as you could imagine, Sam Horsfield is mostly playing better than these guys. He's tied for 32nd at +1. And then Stenson is probably the best golfer of the group, I believe. And he is even par, tied for 26th. So just another kind of fun, interesting aspect to watch when it comes to LIV is like, what is going on with these teams? The ins and the outs of the guys that aren't playing good and the guys that hopefully will play good, that they're getting from the PGA Tour, that they're getting from college, that they're getting from these play-in events. Just another fun thing to watch. And then I'll try to wrap this up relatively quick here. But Taylor Gooch, tied for 32nd at +1. Not a great round of golf for him. He was obviously like the champion last year, just absolutely dominated a lot of last year. He was just all over the news in terms of LIV, but recently had a child, and I feel like this is always a huge factor. It just seems like history repeats itself when these guys have kids, when their wives have kids, I should say. It affects their game. And it's not just professional golfers, it's everybody. It's a huge change. I'm sure for these guys, practice changes, sleep changes, routine changes, everything changes. And it'll be interesting to see how that kind of affects him, if it's that or if it's something else, and how he does this year. I'd love to see him play some really good golf again, because that was quite interesting last year. But then just a couple other notables, Thomas Peters, +1. Matt Wolf, I don't know much about this gentleman. He's +1, tied for 32nd. His golf swing is just crazy. What all I have to say about Matt Wolf. And then here we have Tyrrell Hatton, another first timer on LIV, fresh off the PGA Tour, most recent new LIV guy off PGA Tour, tied for 32nd. He is +1. He's got a double bogey on there, a couple other bogeys. We'll just have to see how that goes. I can imagine that's only going to get better. Phil Mickelson, kind of doing some LIV Golf Phil Mickelson style things, just +2. Tied for 41st. Mito Pereira, +2, tied for 41st. Harold Varner III, 47th. And I think that's mostly it. One other thing to mention, and maybe I lied about Tyrrell Hatton being the most recent member to LIV, because I think it might actually be Adrian Meronk. Now that I see him at the end of the list. +4. Lots of green squares, which are bogeys. 49th. Tied for 49th at +4. That, I could only imagine, is going to get better. He is such a great golfer. Did wonderful things last year, and now I'm guessing he is going to play some very good golf this year, but did not start that way. What else do we need to mention? That's the leaderboard. We'll try to do this after round 2, after round 3, see how it goes, see if we can get 1 or 2 followers. My son said he would follow me, so he might already be halfway there. I must admit, like I said, I do need to work, I believe, on the audio and actually turning this into more of a podcast and being able to share a screen, get some information up on the screen for you guys to see what I'm seeing on my screen. I think for today, that might be it. Catch you after round 2. Thanks.